Sustainability is a big part of the conversation in the fiber deployments, in all the deployments of new infrastructure these days. And Julie, you led a whole session on this on Sunday. Can you give us some of the key highlights of that session? We'll have a conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the reasons why sustainability has become really important is that to connect the unconnected, so to connect millions of Americans who haven't been connected to the internet in the home, takes energy. So on one hand, we know that we want to connect the unconnected, the importance of crossing the digital divide and really giving everyone quality broadband. But on the other hand, it's going to use more energy. So how do you balance that? What can you do to really do sustainable broadband?
One of the things, and unfortunately I didn't get to all the sessions, but one of the things that struck me was Michael Render's presentation and the advantages of fiber.
Sure. Well, there's always been advantages to fiber. It's a highly sustainable medium for transport. It's based on glass, and glass is relatively easy to manufacture. Of course, fiber is high quality, but it's relatively easy. It's sustainable. It doesn't cause problems to the environment. But when you look at what fiber enables in terms of a certain type of technology, passive optical networking, it even gets better because it's passive, so there's no energy consumed along the point to multi-point technology. It's fiber efficient because one fiber strand can support many homes or businesses. So it's fantastic, and it's also optics efficient. So when you look at fiber, it's not just fiber, it's specifically passive optical networking known as PON, which accounts for 99% of fiber-based broadband that's being deployed today.
One of the things that he also pointed out was the reliability factor and how that reduces truck rolls.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's tremendous reliability with fiber connections. It's not affected by flooding, by bad weather of any kind, which is extremely important. And by the use of other technologies, and we had other panelists talking about this, such as OTDR, where you can actually find the fault, if there is a fault, without having to send a truck roll to find the fault. And in many cases, you can fix things remotely. You can also check the customer premise equipment, what's in the customer's home, remotely. And you can say, well, golly gee, just do a reset, or golly gee, you need a new device, we can send you one. So there's all sorts of new technologies or newer technologies that are being deployed now to reduce truck rolls. So when you look at sustainability, it's how do you design the network for sustainability? How do you maintain it for sustainability? How can you upgrade it for sustainability? And fiber supports all that.
Yeah, and the actual physical properties of it, it's going to last a long time, right?
Yeah, we know vendors are going to say 100 years because we haven't had it long enough to say 100 years. And you can try in a lab to simulate 100 years, but for sure, whether it's 40, 50, 60 years, it's a very long time. The other thing that came out on Sunday sessions is how many different ways you can be efficient with fiber technology. You know, here we talk a lot about broadband access because it's really about connecting people. But remember in the long haul and metro parts of the network where you're moving massive amounts of information back and forth, and this is something Sienna talked to, for example. You can do spectrum efficiency on wavelengths. So you can help, again, with new technologies, say to an operator, look, you know, your 400 gig connection or your 400 gig line card or your 800 gig line card, you actually have room on this one, you don't have room on that one, move some things around, and you can more efficiently use the wavelengths that you have. So it's everything from network planning for the access network, the metro network, or sometimes the middle mile now, and the long haul.
And there was even talk of things like in the vault, how just making things more efficient at the terminals and so forth, right?
Absolutely. So efficiencies across everything. And also, one of the most interesting presentations, in my opinion, was towards the end about all the battery backups. So all of this equipment has to have battery backups of some kind in some place, central office, customer premise. So new technologies in the battery field to make batteries more efficient for this type of battery backup.
Yeah, that hybrid supercapacitor, I've been following that for a number of years, and it's very exciting technology.
Yeah, absolutely. So more work has to get done, making it commercial, getting it tested, having it approved by the vendor, by other vendors who then incorporate it into their equipment and having it approved by the operators. But that train is definitely moving. So it was amazing. We talked about corporate goals, energy savings goals at a corporate level, like what can a corporation do? For example, Calix in their policy that if you can work from home, work from home. It saves a lot of commute time to everything from wavelength efficiencies to the central office side to the customer premise side. We also talked about what I call network flattening, or sort of in slang, the smooshing of the network. That we used to have very siloed equipment. This was access, this was metro, this was long haul, and never did they communicate or did their functions get pushed together. And now we're seeing some interesting situations. Some of this is due to the acceptance of pluggables, that that server or router could also support access. Okay. So we're seeing what I call the flattening of the network. Fewer network elements takes up less energy. Right. You have fewer points of possible breakdown, which then leads to fewer replacements, fewer truck rolls.
Well, that makes a lot of sense. Well, it's obviously a very important thing, that the fact that it was a whole track here. And Julia, thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.